All right, everybody, it is after 7, and want to welcome everybody to our April work session. Happy Easter Monday to everybody. Hope everybody had a good weekend, and I know that some people are out on spring break this week as well. But want to get through this agenda today, so I'll just go ahead and get started. And we do have one proclamation that I'll be reading next Monday, and that is our annual proclamation for Arbor Day. We do have a Tree City designation, and this is something that we need to keep updated and on top of each and every year. And for whatever reason, I'm always the person assigned to take that proclamation, and I'm going to gladly do it. Next, we'll move on to old business. And I believe that Mr. Witten is in the hot seat tonight. Art is out not feeling well. And so I'll defer to you on item number 1, which is a right-of-way dedication for White Street.
Yes, thank you. This is a right-of-way acceptance for 4832 White Street. The actual right-of-way itself is along Border Street. This is a corner property. The applicant has provided documentation for dedication of this strip per the conditions of RZ 25-007, which we just had a few months ago, if y'all remember. City staff worked with the applicant to identify a 10-foot strip along Border Street that should provide more than adequate land for us to eventually improve the street in the future or whatever we need to do there. That's highlighted in this red box here just for clarity. And then this is an excerpt from his exemption plat submission, just showing how it kind of ties into his 3-lot subdivision here. He's moved his building lines back. He's still got plenty of space to build the houses he wants to build. So that's all I got for that one.
All right, thank you, Logan. Appreciate it. I've got one question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I know that this is only a portion of White Street or Border Street. And what about the right-of-way in front of the other properties along that roadway? I guess, do we have that currently? Do we need to get that in the future?
It may need to be got in the future just to make one continuous thing. You know, that's a higher level policy decision than me for sure. I just take it on a case by case right now. Like as we get a rezoning in, I mentioned to the applicant, hey, let's get a little right away here.
So we're taking an opportunity to do this when we have the
Basically.
opportunity.
Yep.
Got it. Thank
Yep.
you. All right. Any other questions? Yes, Gary.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up to your question, I was going to ask it as part of item number 4. I'll just mention it now since you just brought that up. White Street and acquiring a right-of-way there. White Street is actually one of the streets, or actually Border Street is one of the streets on the second phase of the contract paving they've got in there. And just wanted to question that, not that it may not need it. I mean, I would almost guarantee that it does. But the bigger question, I think, before we just go and slap a coat of asphalt on there is, should we look at trying to acquire additional right-of-way? Should we look at trying to put in some sort of drainage? It's a little over a quarter of a mile. But I think before we just go in and repave, it would, we should at least consider that, and then the other discussions that we're having about whether it's one way or what it is. But I think all that should be considered probably before we pave that street. Thank you.
Appreciate that comment. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Meg.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question, Logan. Do you happen to know what the status is or where we are with making Border Street one way?
I know Troy would be a better person to ask on that one, to be honest. I know we've talked about it internally. Leave it at. I believe we are coordinating with the school system, if I last remember, just getting the bus transit through there. I know I have a friend that lives over there. She rides, her daughter rides the bus, so I know that'll need to be figured out for sure. I believe that's where we last left it.
We
Right,
can,
thank you.
Yeah, we can ask Troy later about it. All right, any other questions, comments on this item? Again, this is pretty easy. It's just a right-of-way acceptance. But thank you, Logan. All right, next we'll move on to new business, and that would be for an appointment, item number 2, an appointment to the Planning Commission. And Alvin, I'll recognize you for that one.
Thanks, Mayor. With the recent announcement of my favorite, Mrs. Rosemary Walsh, going through some, medical ailments and all, I was looking at the succession planning for the post 1 seat and was nominating a 15-year resident, Deborah Arnstein, who lives in the Barrington Estates neighborhood. She is very active in our community through our gardening programs, also within our arts programs. So she is really engaged in part of that. I will read her bio just for some brief overview of Ms. Deborah. She serves as a business controller for an international packaging company where she oversees financial performance, strategic planning, and operational analysis. Her professional work focuses on evaluating complex business decisions, long-term planning, and responsible financial stewardship. This experience provides a strong foundation to understanding the financial and strategic considerations that often accompany community development and land use planning. In addition to her corporate role, Ms. Arnstein manages both short-term and long-term residential rental properties, providing practical insight into housing, property management, and the factors that influence land use and community development. She also serves on her Homeowners Association board, contributing to neighborhood governance and decision related to community standards and property considerations. As a resident of Sugar Hill since 2014, Ms. Arnstein values thoughtful planning that supports responsible growth, sound land use decisions, and the preservation of the character and quality of life within the community. She looks forward to contributing to practical and balanced perspective and service to the city of Sugar Hill and its residents. Ms. Arnstein and her kids all live within the Sugar Hill city limits. She has adult-age kids. Her grandkids have all gone through the Lanier school system as well. And she is an amazing neighbor and a good friend. So that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Alvin. And I think I saw another nomination come through, email potential nomination from Meg. Do you want to do the same, Meg?
Sure, I'll be glad to. I'm nominating Luke Woody, a resident of Frontier Forest. And when I met him, one of the first things he said was, how can I get involved with the city? So he sent me his bio. He was born in Beaufort and raised in Walton County, where he developed a strong appreciation for small town character, thoughtful planning, and the importance of controlled, intentional growth. Those early experiences shaped his perspective to how communities can grow responsibly while preserving what makes them unique. Now a homeowner in Sugar Hill, he is deeply invested in the long-term success and livability of this community that he calls home. Woody earned a degree in civil engineering from the University of Georgia and currently serves as a land development consultant with Kimley Horn. In this role, he works closely with municipalities, private developers, and public stakeholders across Georgia to guide projects from concept through construction. His professional focus centers on environmentally responsible design, public safety, and development solutions that balance economic growth with community needs. Through his work, he has gained firsthand experience with site due diligence, entitlement support, site planning, stormwater management, green infrastructure, utility and grading design, permitting and construction administration. He regularly collaborates with city planners, engineers, and local leadership, building strong working relationships across multiple jurisdictions. Woody is known for his ability to navigate complex development challenges while seeking practical, cost-effective solutions that align municipal objectives with private development goals. Woody has also participated in several leadership development programs, including Leadership Dogs at the University of Georgia, the Emerging Leaders Program with the Greater Atlanta Home Builders Association, and the University of Georgia College of Engineering Emerging Leaders Program. These experiences have strengthened his commitment to service, collaboration, and thoughtful leadership within growing communities. Outside of his professional work, Woody values time with his family and his faith and enjoys outdoor activities such as boating on Lake Lanier, hunting, and fishing, which reinforces his commitment to conservation and responsible land use. And that's all that I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. I appreciate it, and thank you for both the nominations. There's one thing that I have to clear before next Monday night, and that is, I'm not certain if Rosie has actually resigned her seat yet, and that may be a necessity for us to be able to appoint someone to her position. And so I'm going to work with Frank to make sure that that is taken care of first. I know that her daughter has indicated that she can no longer serve, and perhaps her daughter can speak for her due to the condition that Rosie's in, but I need to figure all of that out, and I'll let everybody know that before we actually take some action on it. Okay.
I had wondered about that too, and I'd also like to know when post-1 term is up. The terms are not on the Planning Commission website anymore.
And I remember, and again, it's hard to remember time, but I remember 1 or 2 years ago, we reappointed Rosie, but I don't know how far into a term she was or not. So that is another important thing to find out. So thank you for raising that. All right, we will now move on to item number 3, and I'm going to recognize Logan for that one as well, and that's the CDB design review for West Broad Street.
Yes, thank you. This is DRB CBD 26-002, a design review within the Central Business District at 5033 West Broad Street. This request is for a approximately 29,000 square foot structure, primarily for restaurant and office space, located roughly in this green outline here. As you can see, it's right next to City Hall in front of the existing parking deck. This is roughly where the asphalt is, right over there. So the 2014 Downtown Core Plan identified this site as a potential retail office building. Nothing was done in 2014 for that. However, the site was kind of generally anticipated to be redeveloped at some point. So here's a couple renderings of this building. This is viewing the building moving west along West Broad Street. So at the left of the screen, you can imagine City Hall. This design was vetted by the DDA through a very extensive and collaborative effort between the city and the investors for this project. It's a traditional and timeless design that is prescribed by the CBD explicitly. Kind of references 19th and early 20th century architecture styles, materials, finishes, things like that. Outdoor dining is going to be present along the streetscape. You can kind of see some people sitting down there. This will just continue the walkable environment we're trying to create here in downtown. You can see it evident throughout West Broad Street. This is just a continuation of that. Additionally, restaurants were a significant request in the Envision 100 comprehensive plan that we just finished 2 or 3 years ago. This will be adding basically restaurant space across the bottom floor, and then there's a rooftop area that you can kind of see that partial level, and then all of this will be rooftop seating. So it's a total of 3 primary floors, a rooftop restaurant area, and then the potential for a basement level as well. This is the view of the building from the other side. You can see the eagle there just to kind of orient yourselves. So parking has definitely been a consideration on this project, especially since it is going on top of approximately 15 existing parking spaces. So we wanted to make sure, is there enough parking in downtown? And the short answer is yes. We do have sufficient extra parking for this development, plus a little bit more for anything else just as is right now. The bulk of that parking area is going to be in the cyan zone. That is the parking deck within the Lyric multifamily development right across the street. There are quite a few spaces, I believe, that may be underutilized, not always easily identifiable. You know, a lot of people just like to park right up front and walk right in, but we do have quite a bit of parking available within a very short walking distance to main downtown drag. So all that to say, staff is recommending approval of the site plan and the building, just substantially resembling the attached exhibits 1 through 6. And I can take any questions.
All right, thank you, Logan. I'll open it up for questions from City Council, and I might have a couple later as well, but I'll let others go first. Josh?
I just have a question, I think, for Frank, I think would be best suited for this one. Frank, can you explain why this is coming to us as a DRB versus coming to us as a rezoning or some sort of other planning action running through the Planning Commission versus coming straight to us, I'm assuming from the DDA?
It is based on its location, because this property is within the central business district. Properties that are in the central business district overlay have a zoning already, and they are permitted to be developed no matter their underlying zoning in certain ways and categories under the zoning ordinance. So as long as the development meets what is already permitted by the central business district overlay, then a zoning is not required. The only thing that's required, because it's in the central business district, is the design review, which relates to the architectural look and feel of the building more so than your zoning. Things outside of the central business district and the town center overlay are different in that if you're changing the use from residential to commercial, or to office, those require a rezoning process because you're limited to what you could do based on its existing zoning. And the central business district zoning is just different from that because of the way your ordinance is written.
Thank you, sir. And then I guess, I'm not sure if you can answer this or maybe Paul. When we look at approvals like this, what is the time frame from, I guess, approval to actual development? And is there a timetable, or does this could it linger out there for, let's say, 72 months before it even gets developed? Or is there a time frame where it gets remanded back to us for additional DRB if it does not get developed in a certain amount of time?
Yeah, there is no time frame. Once it's the same thing with the zoning, just as it would be with your design review. Once the city council approves a zoning or approves a design review, from a strict zoning and design review standpoint, there are no limitations. The only instance really in which there could be a limitation placed on it is if the city or the Downtown Development Authority or the Development Authority, so the city or one of its related entities, is the owner of the property through contractual agreements for a purchase and sale agreement, a development agreement, or something like that. If the city or one of its entities is the owner of the property through those contractual agreements, it could put in place some time limitations or thresholds. But in the vast majority or the general case, that's not the situation, because the city or any of its related entities don't own the property and so therefore can't contractually put a time limitation on there. This property in particular would be unique in that the city Downtown Development Authority are the owners of it, and so through some potential contractual agreements, there could be some time frames placed on this. So in this situation, potentially yes, but not through the zoning process or the design review process. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Frank. And I think a question for Paul here. It's my understanding that this property has not been purchased yet. Do you have a purchase price by chance of what, I guess, we're under contract for, or potentially would go under contract for?
We do, we have that, and then that would, only been discussed in executive session, but you will take public action on that at the appropriate time to basically to transfer the property through an memorandum of understanding to the DDA for them, they would be the ones that would enter into the purchase and sale agreement to sell it to the investor. And if I could just add on to what Frank said regarding any safeguards, I think your concern is the city or the Downtown Development Authority selling the property and it not being developed. And normally our purchase and sale agreements would be they are performance driven with key points along the way. And they would have to go through those steps, and we won't close until we issue the land disturbance permit for it. So that is the process we would use to protect the city and to protect you.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. And then I guess my last thing here, I've just looked through the plans, and I just want to make sure that my math is correct. Maybe Cindy can help me out with this, or you, Paul. I mean, best guess, looking at this type of building, 4 stories with the rooftop and then potentially for space to be utilized underneath in the square footage. I mean, we're looking at potential valuation of $12 to $13 million. I think as a conservative number, I mean, potential city gain in taxes coming just to us, I mean, we're looking north of 15,000, potentially 20,000. Is that kind of safe to say millage rate math-wise? Okay, yeah, I mean, so I just wanted to make sure that I was math right there. So I just took kind of our averaged out on what we charged homeowners here for our homes. That equals out to about 28 single-family homes valued at $450,000, which is our average amount of taxes here. So essentially, we're kind of shooting down 27 different birds here with one particular property, and increasing our tax digest number on a property standpoint, and then also increasing what we are billing out on a year-over-year basis. So I think that's all I have right now.
All right, thank you. Anybody else got any questions? Sam, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. So there are some specific business types that the investor has decided for this property. Can you help me understand how they came up with these business types? What data did they use to really determine the genre of, office space versus restaurants versus the basement? How did it come about? Because we have a rooftop within our city limits already, so why another rooftop?
The investors have experience building a product of this magnitude in other cities around the metro Atlanta area, particularly in Woodstock and in Milton. And it's the same investment group that has done it. They looked at our market and they knew that the community wanted a date night type of restaurant, and the rooftop would be a restaurant with potentially a bar, but its primary purpose is intended to be another restaurant on the rooftop. And the mix of use is that the middle 2 floors will be office space, and there's one person will occupy 1 complete floor. The others will then be leasable suites. And so they've looked at our market for office space. We have a big, huge gap, and so this will help fill that gap. And they listen and they see our Envision 100 plan that the community is asking for more dining options downtown, more dining options. And so I'm a firm believer that competition is not bad. That competition is good for business, and having multiple options is good for our downtown long-term.
Sam, you're welcome to just keep asking questions. It'll make it move.
Thank you. Could you go back to the previous slide for me of when we're discussing parking? One more. No, the one with the parking. Okay, so it says here, this means that there's a surplus of 164 parking spaces within the study area. When you look at the variances between your no build with the Buckle build, I'm not seeing that variance. So can you kind of walk me through how you got to 164?
Yes, so the block of text on the left is what was done by the third-party parking study. The box on the right is just from my own independent analysis, trying to arrive at roughly the same numbers. They use the IT parking generation manual. I do not have access to that, so I did not use that. I more or less estimated based on day versus night, so not, you can't see it on here, but I came up with a little calculator in Excel where you can adjust percentages of occupancy. So, for example, day, you're going to have more people in retail, you're going to have more people in offices, not as many people in restaurants. At night, it's going to be flip-flopped. So since the parking counts or parking requirements vary between retail versus a restaurant space, I wanted to show just a little more accurate picture. I'm not a traffic engineer. I don't claim these are perfectly accurate numbers. Just based on the information that we have in our zoning ordinance and my analysis of everything, I arrived to roughly the same conclusion that the third-party study did, just to kind of verify those numbers, and then added in counts for the belt buckle to kind of show the remainder, if that makes sense. The study itself was done in 2024, and I did this study like a couple weeks ago, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, is that it, Sam? Okay. Anybody else? Meg? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I wanted to say, Frank, I appreciate the explanation for the rezoning and the commercial and where we are now with the design review. I just wanted to ask, since Paul mentioned an MOU, doesn't it seem that, I know, so I understand we don't have to have a rezoning, it doesn't have to go to the planning commission, but before we get to the design review, shouldn't there be something more that we know what's in an MOU, and then decide, okay, this is what we want because this is what the MOU says? It just seems like there might be a step missing. So that was one of my questions.
I think I can answer that. It wouldn't really make any sense for them to do an MOU with us without them knowing that we're going to approve the building, right? So that's why design review comes first. They have to know that there's something that they can build actually before they agree to purchase the property for us. And that's about as simple as I can make it. But I can't think of any circumstance where, and I mean, just like when a rezoning comes to us and a developer is involved, very rarely would that developer already have purchased the property without knowing what the outcome of the rezoning is going to be. I mean, that would just be foolish on their part to do so. And that's how real estate works, at least from my own experience. But
All right, well, thank you. And then the issue of the taxes came up, so I just wanted to verify that this is not a situation like with Lyric and Holbrook. The city will not be the landlord for this particular project. All right, and,
We will not,
okay,
we'll just be the seller of the property and investors are on their own.
we sell the ground and the building is theirs.
and then Logan, you mentioned retail and commercial. At this point, do you know of those spaces, how much would be an office and what would be retail and how many restaurants? Do you have a little bit more definitive information about that?
A little bit, yes. So the ground floor, that's going to be your restaurants, maybe retail, but I believe it's primarily just going to be restaurants. Floors 2 and 3, those are going to be pure office spaces, as Paul mentioned. Level 4 is going to be exclusively a restaurant space, open rooftop dining kind of situation. And then there is potential for a basement. That may be an additional restaurant space. It may just end up being storage. I don't think that's 100% worked out, but what you see in this picture here, restaurant, office, office, restaurant.
All right, I just wanted to verify because I thought I thought I had seen a mention of retail. So I thought there might be another type of shopping opportunity downtown, not just the restaurant and the office. But at this point, there's no store going to be in this building.
There could be one, but that's not really within the scope of this particular request. It's more about the building, whether
Yeah,
it's a
it's a-
restaurant, whether it's retail.
It's design
Overall.
review, yeah. It's not really anything at all about what's in the building. It's how the building looks. That's what we're voting on.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
I've got, if you don't mind, unless, I wanted to dig into the parking just a little bit because I think they're missing some other broader factors. When we approved the budget for 2026, we included $5.5 million to be invested in additional parking in the downtown over the next several years. And so as long as City Council continues to be supportive of us investing in additional parking, then we're going to take care of that issue here, and likely could before this building is even completed. And I know that I'll certainly encourage that be a priority of the city since we have put the funds in the budget for that. And I want to thank the council members that supported that budget that had that parking money in it. In addition, I have noticed on the upper deck here that during the day, probably 75% of the parkers there are employees. And I want our employees to be as close as possible to City Hall. But in the budget, there was also reference to some alternative employee parking that I think that in the very, very short term will open up some spaces on those on the upper parking deck. So I think we have that to also pay attention to. I've also just noticed that when people park there, they're going to other places in the downtown, right? They might park here, but they walk to the E-Center. And I think there's some very simple things that we can do from a parking enforcement and a signage standpoint just to limit the amount of time that people park so that they are truly coming to the post office or getting a passport or whatever it is that they may need to be doing here at City Hall. And I think those are just, again, those are three very obvious and very simple things that can be done to address the parking situation. So I guess that was more of a comment than versus a question, but I just wanted to make sure that was pointed out. And I'll let others ask questions or make comments if they want to. Alvin?
Thanks, Mayor. I think you really hit my point. I would say from what Mr. Rafford mentioned in regards to the envision planning, one of the things that I think I've heard the longest and the most is more options in regards to restaurants and eating locations. But first off, the reason why we're here, aesthetically, this building is a beautiful building. If you can go back to that picture, I think the aesthetics of that building and really hearing the name, the belt buckle, if you just kind of look at the belt buckle and think of yourself going to Western night and you got your cowboy boots on and you put your big old belt buckle on and how that just kind of accentuates your outfit, right? And I think that's what this building would do with connecting our city and, of course, making it a walkable city, or a city being a walkable city, that you know, passing by this and you have those that are sitting outside, dining outside is going to kind of put the true meaning to what the belt buckle is. So I think aesthetically, the building and its design is really well laid out, which actually mirrors the one that's over in the Woodstock area. And that is doing and looks amazing as well. So I think from that regard, the short terms and concerns that I've heard mostly was the parking. And thanks for kind of spelling that piece out. And the mayor just mentioned just communicating our options of what we do have out there, of that not really being an issue. That's really all that I had, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it, Alvin. Anybody else got any questions or comments? All right, I don't see any, so we'll move on then. Let's go next to item number 4, and that is the contract award for road repairs and resurfacing. And Troy, I'll recognize you for that.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an item we routinely do annually. It is our 2026 version of that. In the fall of last year, we had proposed completing repairs to 14 streets under the older, I'm going to say the original program called the Local Maintenance Improvement Grant Program. That is funded annually, and it is, I believe, on the order of some $300,000 of state funds that are then matched by SPLOST funds from the 2023 SPLOST, and those are used to complete those repairs. And in recent years, the state has funded additional road work through a supplemental budget that they approve annually based on the revenue position of the state. Those funds are then announced once the budget gets approved during the process of going through the legislative session. The original set of streets I think we've proposed and approved are in a couple of locations that I want to just point out graphically for you. And they are in Laurel Springs. I don't have the neighborhood names, unfortunately. So we're going to skip through this and just point out there's 3 neighborhoods that are going to be the focal point of the original program. And those 14 streets extend some 3¼ miles through Sugar Hill. With the state's amended budget, the state has authorized an additional $327,000 for the city of Sugar Hill. And we have looked for opportunities in some of the poorer road locations for us to really knock out a few of the lower scoring roads in Sugar Hill. And this will help elevate the average score of our pavement ratings across all of our street network. So up on the upper left, I'll point out that Henry Bailey is one of the lower scoring streets. That is one that staff has looked at and is recommending be added to the scope of work. That one scored a 25. We also have below that Starflower and Snowbell Court, and respectively they are 37 and 19 on the PCI index. And then we have Sunset, which is an older road, that scored a 22. Old Spring Way is an average of 35. And then we've talked about Border Street, and that one scored a 19. So with the addition of these 7 streets, that adds a mile and 4/200ths to the scope of work that we would like to propose for 2026. When we started the year, we put together a bid package that included the original 14 streets, and then we would like to add these additional 7 to that contract. The contract opportunity did provide for additional work to be added to the contract. The project opportunity was advertised and bids received about 4 or 5 weeks ago, with 17 bids submitted. A very large number of responses. We typically don't experience that number of responses, so this is a lot of interest in the work that we were advertising. The low bid was Allied Paving at $847,122.50, and the high bid was Sunbelt Paving at $1,701,605.58. So a pretty good range there, but there were 12 bids that were below our engineering estimate for the work of, I believe it's in my memo, I don't have it in front of me, but the work is within their area of expertise. We have worked with Allied Paving before, and we would like to recommend award to Allied Paving for the original 14 streets, the added 7 streets. So the recommendation from staff is threefold. One is to award the construction contract to Allied Paving in the original amount of $847,122.50, to amend the budget to allow for the addition of the 7 streets funded largely from the Local Road Assistance Program, the amended Georgia 2026 budget, taking the total budget up to $1,300,000, and to approve the submittal of those 7 additional streets to Georgia DOT for that second round of grant funding. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Troy. Yes, Gary?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to echo my previous comments. In regards to Border Street, when they were showing the street widths there, the average street widths that we're paving are 26 feet. The listing for Border Street was 20 feet, which shows it's substandard for two-way. If we're looking at going one way, it may be larger than necessary, but I think when we're doing that street, we should consider doing curb and gutter and sidewalk, probably on at least one side of those. So I'm not sure just putting asphalt on there is the adequate solution. I think we need a better solution that's going to encompass whatever we're doing, one way or two way. Either we need more right of way, or we might need a different or better design. During some of those previous discussions, water was discussed of being an issue on those roads, so I think that's something to consider. And then one other thing I noticed, a new Starflower was on the list, but I see that only covers half of Starflower, and that entire street is failing. So I don't know how much sense it makes to do half of it at a time, as opposed to the whole length of that street. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate it. I would support curb and gutter and sidewalk on one side of White Street, but only if it's within the budget that we have. I don't support additional funds because I don't think we're the full owner of that. I think Buford has co-ownership in that. So Troy, based on Gary's suggestions, do you think we could do that there and fit it within the existing budget that we have?
I don't believe this contractor has the experience to do new elements of construction like curb and gutter and widening, grading. I think that needs to be a separate project. So I'm willing to replace Border Street with another, if that is of interest.
Can we come back and revisit
And we can
Border
come back
Street
and
at another
revisit
time?
that as a separate project.
Yes, Mayor, I don't expect the current budget would cover it. I think we should, one, discuss with Buford and see if they want to do maintenance on their part of it as we do, and just look at it as a whole project. But I think there will be some substantial costs to curb and gutter, but I think now is the time to do it as opposed to waiting, especially with the development that we've seen along there. So unfortunately for the residents there, I hate to say delay that street, but to me it just seems it's the wrong time to just put asphalt down without considering the whole solution there. And then in terms of replacing it with another, yes, I'd be fine with that, whether it's Starflower or some other street. I do think we should address Border Street, and I hate to delay it, but I do agree with it's a bigger project that needs to be considered than in this immediate time frame. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Good suggestion. Is that good?
Yes.
All right. Any other comments, questions about this one? All right, we'll move on to Number 5, contract award for Ridge Lake Park Phase 3 parking. Troy?
This is the proposed rendered site plan for Ridge Lake Park. It includes some of the existing improvements and ones that we've added recently, such as the playground, which is B, and the pavilion, which is currently under construction. Sorry, I clicked the wrong item. Pavilion, which will be next to the playground, and then we are working on the terraced sections above the pond. And then in the 2026 budget, we also do want to propose some form of fishing pier or dock. It may not take the form of what you see here, but very similar. We're doing most of that work in-house. The one portion that is beyond our expertise right now is laying pervious pavers and the drainage system associated with that. So the area identified as A here, shown on both my memo and on the screen now, area bounded in red is a part of that scope. Scope of work at this time does not include the additional landscaping we did discuss at a recent meeting. So we will tackle the additional landscaping under a separate contract in the fall. And that'll time out quite well with the conclusion of the paver work and then also the fall planting season. We did put together the bid documents necessary for this type of project. We do have $1,302,000 budgeted for all of this last phase of improvements at the park. And of that, $950,000 was programmed for the parking improvements. And then we did advertise the project in accordance with the requirements for this type of project. We received 5 responses and evaluated those in an RFP process over 2 stages, making sure that those that did respond were qualified to do that type of work. So there was a selection committee that was put together to complete the evaluations, and the result was that the recommendation is to award to Summit Construction and Development in the amount of $939,388.39. Summit is able to complete the work and self-perform the installation of the pavers. The other contractors were subcontracting out a large portion of work and did not have all the actual experience setting pavers and putting in the drainage systems associated with it. So that's why staff is recommending award to Summit in that amount.
Thank you, Troy. Any questions? Yes, Gary.
Thank you, Mayor. Troy, I guess my impression before of the additional parking was I thought we were adding the wings on the side. I did not realize, and it looks like we're adding a whole new row on the front. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, which I have no problem with. The question I do have related to that is that's an elevated area on, I guess that's the sort of northeast side there, the top end of this picture. As you go from the road, the 20 seems to drop down, and that area is higher than the current parking lot. I assume will we be excavating to make it level, or is it going to stay at the higher height?
It will be adjusted, and the fill material will be moved to the west side to fill in that portion that may be lower than the existing parking lot.
Okay.
So it should balance out. I don't think there's import or that kind of thing.
I have no problem with that. The thing that would concern me is we're moving this parking, I guess if that's parking on each side and the road in the middle, you're talking like 40, 50, 60 feet closer to 20. Do we have fencing on the front of that? You know, particularly if you've got kids down in the playground area and then they're running back to the parking area, just to make sure they're not running out into the road or anything. Do we have any fencing plan for the front of that park?
We do not, and again, it was just trying to keep the scope narrow,
Okay.
so we found the right contractor. We can add.
And I'm fine with what we've planned. I just think we might want to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Any other questions about the project? Meg?
Clarify, Gary, that was a really good suggestion about the fencing. And what might be a good alternative would be like the guardrails that are on Peachtree Industrial Boulevard where the new sidewalk is. So that might be something also to consider.
I'll let Troy determine what's best. I don't know what's best, but I think they're both great suggestions. So, and I've been there quite a few times since the new playground is opened, and it's pretty crowded. And so I imagine as we continue to add amenities, it's going to be even more so. So the parking will be necessary. But you think the landscaping can fit in within the current budget as well, since we've had a lot of cost savings, it seems like. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll move on to the last item, that is item number 6. And Troy, that's you as well. That's the contract award for Roosevelt Collection Site Development.
All right, the Roosevelt Collection project is, the site plan is identified on the screen for you. It involves all of the site development work associated with what will be the construction of these 24, 25 homes that is funded through the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG. I think in the past, Sugar Hill has used it for some sidewalk work and other infrastructure construction in the past. This can be used for that site development as well as some of the home funds that are assigned to it. We did advertise this, which was a full and complete set of plans. So we got some pretty accurate numbers. We've got responses from 3 contractors. So we're going to evaluate those this week, and hopefully we'll be able to put together a recommendation early enough for you to look at before Monday. If not, I'll ask you to table it next Monday.
All right, any other questions of Troy on this? All right, I don't see any, so we will move on to city manager discussions and updates. And I'll just say in advance, I don't think we have a need for executive session, or at least from who I've talked to, so we can get back and watch basketball later tonight. I know some of y'all are interested in that. All right, Paul, I'll recognize you.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought I would at least recognize that during the legislative session, property tax was central to a lot of the discussions that income tax reductions. At the last, on sine die, it's probably after midnight when they adopted a pared-down version of property tax, which is for homesteaded property. We're still looking at the bill as passed by the House and Senate, waiting for the governor to weigh in whether he's going to sign it or not. But if he does sign it, we will have a report for y'all to tell you what its impact is on Sugar Hill residents. It's the bill is property tax, property owner favorable, which is good. It would provide the opportunity to eliminate all homestead property taxes in Sugar Hill. So, and then replace it with a sales tax. And so we'll give you the details once we get closer, but I just wanted to bring that up to you. That's something that we were following as staff. The Georgia Municipal Association was actively engaged, as was the Association of County Commissioners. And in the end, the bill is still property owner friendly, but it doesn't hurt local governments in terms of ability to manage going forward and providing those investments in public services that the community asks for. I'd like for Andy Smith to come up and Chief Smith to come up and give us a brief report. As we're entering into spring break, I think it's important that he has our marshals all engaged and ready to go to help downtown, make sure that people enjoy our downtown and keep as many people out of trouble as we can. So,
Yes, that's our goal. So, as y'all seen in the news, you have these teen takeovers, and it happened over here at the Mall of Georgia on last Saturday night. Prior to that, on that Friday night, we did have a large group that was downtown. They were causing somewhat of a scene. Our marshals moved in and coordinated with Gwinnett County, came in and kind of diffused any situation during that time frame. Now, this week, we see the teenagers, they start to come during the peak hours, and that's from around, 5 to 9 p.m. for the downtown area, where the families are down here, they're enjoying what we have to offer them downtown. So we have mainly focused the marshals to come in this area to show a good presence, to engage with the juveniles once there are, to kind of set some kind of ground rules with them. We don't have a problem with them if they're coming in and enjoying ice cream at Scoops or Kilwins or Starbucks or anything like that, but it's when they start becoming disruptive is when we'll step in and kind of educate them a little bit. If that does not work, then we will kind of get their parents involved and get their parents down here and explain to them what exactly is going on. And some of these parents, they don't like getting phone calls that their children are acting up. So we work with Gwinnett County. Gwinnett County's on board. They're really good to work with. They come in and assist us whenever we have those larger crowds in, but we're mainly focused in the downtown area during these peak times just to show that we're quick to respond. We can handle any situation and make sure that other patrons that visit the downtown area can enjoy themselves without hearing all the kids screaming and hollering and running, everywhere downtown. So that's our focus for this week. We've increased personnel. Some of the reserves are doing some additional work this week for our department. So they've really stepped up and assisted us as well.
I just have one question. With it being spring break this week, I'm just curious to know, have you had an increased request for the Vacation Watch program?
We've had a couple of them come in, not like summertime. Summertime, we're inundated with them, but this week, I think we've only just had a couple come in, and several of them are repeat people that live here in Sugar Hill. They enjoyed the service, so we're going to continue that.
Chief, a question for you. Just for my educational purposes, do you have a curfew for minors within our city limits, like in the downtown area?
We have one for the East Center area, and I believe you can't be downtown without an adult if you're under the age of 16, correct? 18, under the age of 18, and that's past 10 o'clock.
Okay.
I believe it is. And that's posted on the East Center and several signs around the city here.
Within your expertise, do you think it would be valuable for us to expand that?
As far as the curfew goes, to an earlier time?
No, meaning it applies to all of our downtown area after 10 p.m. if you're a minor?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it just gives a broader spectrum for us to enforce and to really get involved with that, if there's an issue, to kind of have a little bit of teeth to it as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, proceed, Paul.
You have a copy of our March staff training and certifications and conferences report that gives you what things our staff attended. And then it tells you, the second sheet tells you what the cost was per your policy direction. I see Avery here, but she's been sick. I'm going to let her stay back there so she doesn't have to use her voice. But we do have the theater program for movies throughout the week in movies I've never seen. but I'm going to tell you what they are. Maybe I have seen Peter Rabbit, I'm not too sure. Secret Life of Pets 2, Dog Man, in Paddington in Peru, and Zootopia. They all seem to be riveting. But they're very children, family friendly, and they're in the theater. It's something we do. In the wintertime, this is our summer bash. The theater and the Greenway are going to be active during April. We have a run through the decades race on the Greenway and Arbor Day 5K on the Greenway. We have something I know that's very near and dear to the heart of the mayor and others here, North Gwinnett Jazz Festival in the Bowl. And then the on-stage children's theater will present Legally Blonde Junior, and we also have the Players Guild presenting Pride and Prejudice. And then we also have a rental from Chi-Town Transit Authority. So once again, very, very busy with rentals and other activities in the bowl and in the theater. And then Troy, if you could give us a brief construction update. But I do want to just recall something that Yogi Berra said one time. Nobody goes there anymore because it's too busy. Having a parking problem, the worst part is not having a parking problem. So, but we know the issues are real, and we are addressing them along with mayor and council, and we will make sure that we address this going forward. So, with that, I'll turn it over to Troy. And he has one item that I want to bring forward to see if you will consider adding it to the agenda on Monday. So, Troy?
Thank you. I'll try to do this a little better this time. We did receive information from Novair about the property dedication that was associated with the Ackerman retail project. So they are essentially ready, substantially ready with the request, and we do feel like it's pretty routine, very similar to the dedication they made to Greenway just north of there. So we can get this ready for Monday. Just wanted to let you know that. And while you're looking at that, I'll mention that Ms. Avery asked about the spring cleanup. That will be the first full week of May, so May 4 to 8. We'll announce it on our socials here soon. So you'll see that on there and on our website. Very similar program to years past. And then I think we've got a new office building that is getting ready to get started down PIB, so I wanted to mention that to you. Reeves Young is expanding their office. They're one of the larger employers in Sugar Hill now. I don't know, that kind of snuck up on us. And so they've got some 1,000 employees across their different companies that they manage. So it's a pretty big employer, and so we'll get you information on that as well. So.
I'll go ahead and tell everybody when that is, because I think it is a big deal for our community, but they will be doing the groundbreaking on April 17th from 10 until noon, and I know that we're all invited to that. They'll be doing parking and a shuttle from Gwinnett Church to help with parking. So I would imagine that in the future that will be our largest employer in Sugar Hill. It will replace MTI as the largest employer. So that's a big investment, and it's a big deal for our community. So yes, Gary.
Thank you, Mayor. City Attorney just brought to my attention, I happen to notice as well, on this illustration we've got here, it looks like the detention pond for the facilities on the land they want to donate. I don't want to particularly be their landlord on that, and don't want to have to be responsible for maintaining it. If that is indeed their detention pond, I'd suggest we eliminate that from the donation area.
Well, that was a good observation, Frank, so I appreciate that. It actually will serve our future construction needs on the upper part of the project, and there will be some language in the dedication that will address maintenance responsibility and who does what.
So it'll probably be in the form of some kind of access easement one way or the other. So whether it gets carved out and is our access easement, or we keep it and it's their access easement, they'll be responsible for maintaining their share of that area.
So to put a finer point to it, we need it for our project.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody else got anything else? All right, is there a motion to adjourn our April work session?
Motion.
Have a motion from Alvin, is there a second? Second from Meg. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, we are adjourned and we'll come back next Monday. Oh, sorry. We'll make it 4-1 then.
Go Northern basketball. Josh, you got a haircut. Did I? Yeah. Yeah. He looks so different. I do too. It's the same hair.